Hello everyone, welcome to the Orange Tapes. Today I'm gonna talk about some of the most common money transfer scams out there. First of all, there's the usual internet purchase scam. Uh, Pretty common sense. The scammer is gonna pretend to be a vendor. He's gonna try to sell something online. It could be weapons, cigarettes, old books, a car, electronic equipment, computer parts, anything that you could find on things like eBay. And the most common sites would be eBay and Craigslist, but other sort of online marketplace sites can also be affected by this sort of scam. And the fraud will, the fraudster will most often tell you that you need to pay not with a regular bank transfer, but they're gonna tell you that they want either a money order or they will ask you to do some sort of transfer using something like Western Union. Because that way it's going to be much harder for you to get your money back. Once you send the money, of course, you will never receive the item. One of the most common items that are gonna be offered as a scam product is gonna be an animal. So buying a purebred puppy or a kitty online, that's really a high risk thing, and I would strongly recommend you not to do it. If you're gonna buy an animal, always try to meet the person face to face if possible. And personally, I would even suggest not to buy an animal at all. Just go to your local animal shelter, and you will get the animal for free. You will help an animal that is in real need. You will avoid scams, and trust me, animals that you will adopt from a shelter are gonna be some of the most wonderful friends and companions that you can have. Going back to the actual fraud, one more red flag that you can see just aside from this, the methods of payment that they're gonna ask for, is the most common rule of thumb thing in many scams, which is gonna be, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is true. If you're buying a motorcycle and this vendor is selling a motorcycle 50% of the usual market price on the same eBay or other marketplace that you're using, that should be a red flag. If something appears to be too good or too cheap for what everything else like this looks on the website, yeah, that's a red flag. Do your due diligence, check it, and don't risk it, especially if the fraudster is going to tell you that he doesn't accept certain forms of payment. Okay, there's also a sort of reverse scam to that. It's sometimes called the overpayment scam. And it's a scam where the victim is actually the vendor, the person who's selling something online. So if you ever sell anything through eBay, Craigslist, etc., you might encounter an individual which is gonna buy your product by sending you a check. And that check is gonna be for a higher amount than what your product was posted. And then the individual is gonna contact you and he's gonna say, hey, I accidentally sent too much money to you. Could you please wire the overpaid part, the extra money, back to me? And so what will happen? If you're gonna post this money to them, then at some time later you will find that the check that they send you actually bounced, and you just lost money and you didn't even sell anything. How to avoid this thing? Well, first of all, like I said, look out for people who are gonna pay with checks and pay more than they should. That's a really rare scenario. And also watch out for what sort of money transfer methods they're gonna ask you to use to send to them. The most common things that they're gonna ask you is again a money transfer with something like Western Union. A really insidious form of fraud is what we sometimes call an advance payment scam or a proof of funds. How does this work? Well, you want to buy something usually really expensive, so it's gonna be a vehicle, a car, a house, something of that sort, and you will find a vendor online which is selling exactly what you need. In this case, the price might not even be super attractive. It might be a usual price for this sort of product. And what will the vendor tell you to do? He's gonna say something like, "Oh, okay, yeah, let's enter into this business relationship. I'm gonna sell you this house, but first I want to make sure that you actually have the funds, so I'm not scammed or I'm not put into some sort of hassle." And he's gonna instruct you to send money to someone you trust. So he's gonna say, "Well, if you could go to Western Union and send the transfer to your wife, son, whoever like that, and just show me the receipt that you actually have this money, then I'm gonna be good, and we're gonna go with the transfer. And of course, your wife or son will pick up the money. Nothing bad will happen to it, right? Because you're sending it to them, and your funds should be secure, right?" Well, not really. What's gonna happen? If you show them the receipt, they will know the reference number of this Western Union or other remittance service that they will ask you to use. Once they have the reference number, they're gonna manufacture a false ID uh, for the name of this your real receiver. So if you're sending to your wife who's named Amy Jones, they're gonna actually produce a fake ID which will say Amy Jones, and they will then take this fake ID with the reference number that they already know from your receipt, and they will pick up the money, not your wife or not your son, not the original receiver, and then they will disappear with the money. Uh, this is a very insidious scam because, like I said, it seems to be absolutely safe, and you will be very surprised how quickly they can produce those IDs. It can happen within minutes of you showing them the receipt. So whenever someone asks for this sort of advance payment proof of purchase, don't do it. It's a giant red flag. This is not worth the risk. One more type of fraud is the so-called rental fraud. You will find an ad online for a rental for an apartment or some sort of vacation resort rental, and they're just the vendor, the person who is supposed to own the property, is gonna tell you to wire the money to them without first signing any sort of contract and without you actually going and seeing the property in question. It's just gonna show you photos or videos of it, etc., etc. Very often the actual property doesn't even exist in the real world. It's just gonna be photos he stole from some, website or whatever. So whenever you want to rent something like that, I would suggest take care to actually visit the property, make sure it exists. Do not send the money without signing a contract, and be especially careful if you, for example, live in the US, you want to rent a property in the US, and suddenly the person who owns the property will tell you to wire the money to a totally different country, often a third world country in the other side of the globe. That's a big red flag. Watch out for that. Oh, moving on. The ever popular investment scam. This works much like the online purchase scam. You're gonna find an ad online or in a newspaper that's gonna offer an amazing investment with amazing return rates. And again, a rule of thumb: if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. So, if it seems amazing and this person is who's offering this investment, he's gonna pretend to be a stockbroker, some sort of land purchase scheme or fund, some sort of portfolio manager, bank representative, uh, this sort of thing. Again, they're gonna tell you that the returns are amazing. They're gonna say that the returns are guaranteed, that it's a foolproof scheme, and the returns are going to be really much larger than what you're supposed to invest. And of course it works the same way as you would expect. You send the money for the investment and you never hear from the person again. So watch out for that and follow the same rules as I described in the previous scams. Look out for too good to be true cases, and look out for those people who just tell you to send stuff using money transfers, money orders, etc. etc. A similar variant might be a credit card scam. So you will find again an ads offering some really decent looking credit card offer. And they will tell you that once you are approved for the credit card, you must send some sort of fee or payment to get this card. Again, you send the money, you never get the card, the person disappears. And another variant is the loan scam. You will find an ad advertising some really decent sounding loan with very good rates, and the person is gonna tell you to send some money to get this loan. It's gonna be often something like some sort of local fee. They're gonna claim it's for a tax. They're gonna claim this is gonna be the first payment, the first monthly payment. And same story, you send it, it never comes back, you never get the loan. Oh, then we have a real oldie. This one was invented probably in the 19th century. The so-called lottery scam, or prize scam. How does this work? Well, you're gonna be contacted directly via phone, email, SMS, etc. And someone will say they represent some big company. For example, I don't know, Amazon, Walmart, uh, whatever big company is active in your area. And they're gonna say, well, you've been chosen the customer of the year, you won a lottery, there's gonna be a prize in our company and you just won it. And this is gonna be a really big prize, it's gonna sound like something like